It pains me in a way to have to have to conclude that Trump is the emperor who's got no clothes. And why? 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 Because I hoped Trump could possibly do something. The problem is at the heart of the Trump approach is a void, the void of the difference between right and wrong. And now he's grasping at straws. Maybe uh, the rest of the world can help him to achieve something. But he's exposed his rump in a way which is unattractive. He's once again framed international diplomacy as a matter of deals and bargains. In his statements on Truth Social, he's threatened large scale banking sanctions, tariffs, and other punitive economic measures against Russia if it doesn't engage in negotiations with Ukraine. The fundamental issue here is not just Trump's policy shift, but the underlying transactional nature of his approach to diplomacy, one that sees international relations as a series of deals rather than a complex interplay of historical grievances, power struggles, deeply entrenched national interests, and a sense of what is right or wrong, a moral truth. At the core of Trump's worldview is this belief that everything is negotiable: wars, territorial disputes, alliances, moral principles. And this works well in business, but it's perilous in world politics. Trump's now pressuring Ukraine and Russia to come to the negotiating table before it's too late. Yet this ignores the reality that for many actors in this conflict, the price of bargaining is not merely economic or political, it's about existence itself. And this is particularly evident in the case of Gaza. When Trump warned of further destruction if Hamas didn't release Israeli captives, the response from Gaza has been telling: when you've got nothing left to lose, threats are meaningless. And this encapsulates the fundamental flaw in Trump's transactional model. What happens when one party in the negotiation doesn't see itself as having anything left to barter? In traditional business deals, both parties have something to gain. But in war, one side may only see the prospect of continued suffering or annihilation. Trump's renewed threats against Russia are also revealing. He claims he's considering banking, sanctions, tariffs, broader economic measures as a response to Russia's intensified strikes on Ukraine. It's a notable departure from earlier signals suggesting that he might erase sanctions to ease sanctions to facilitate negotiations. The shift comes after criticism that his administration was pressuring Ukraine to make concessions while offering Russia a softer hand. The trouble is, Russia has already adapted to years of economic isolation and found ways to work around sanctions. If Trump really believed in leverage as a guiding principle, he would have to recognize that sanctions alone will not force Russia to capitulate, or certainly not with any speed. Furthermore, his rhetoric, oscillating between punitive measures and diplomatic overtures, sows confusion. If the goal is to pressure Russia while supporting Ukraine, then halting intelligence operations with Kyiv, as Washington has now done, undercuts that very strategy. Many experts argue that Russia's military gains are partially due to the lack of US intelligence sharing. What Russia did last night is a result of that intelligence sharing stopping. The people Russia killed, the people Russia maimed, the people Russia wounded last night are a direct result of Donald Trump's decision. Donald Trump has blood on his hands just as Putin has. The difference here is that Putin is dead and Trump is alive. Trump can be prosecuted. Putin can simply be buried. The transactional model doesn't account for long-term strategy. The transactional model doesn't really deal with these life and death issues. The transactional model doesn't deal with morality. It reacts to immediate circumstances rather than shaping circumstances. The real danger in Trump's approach is that it lacks that guiding moral or ideological compass. If everything is a deal, then what fills the void when the bargaining fails? Diplomacy cannot function on leverage alone. There must be a core of set principles, a set of principles guiding decisions. Otherwise, foreign policy becomes an exercise in short-term deal-making with no concern for the long-term consequences. I give you my marbles, you give me yours. Well, in the end, life is more than trading marbles. This is the fatal flaw in seeing global politics, the world, as a game of chicken, where each side waits for the other to swerve first. In conflicts like Ukraine and Gaza, this mentality only leads to greater escalation. Russia has no incentive to back down because of vague threats about banking. This is the country of the Troika. Ukraine cannot afford to gamble on its survival. And in Gaza, as voices on the ground make clear, threats mean little when suffering is already total. Trump's next move may be harsher sanctions on Russia, or it may be an attempt to back-channel negotiations with Moscow. But as long as he continues to frame foreign policy as a series of trades, rather than a matter of principle, the world is dangerously made more unstable. The world has clicked a few more seconds towards midnight, precisely because of Trump's manipulation and because of Trump's arrogance. And Vance is there, egging him on, waving the flag, and then talking about Catholicism, as if talking about religion can actually account for Vance's complete lack of moral compass as well. Wars are not won or lost at the negotiating tables or the roulette tables. They are determined by strategy, by moral clarity, by a deep understanding of human stakes, of what is at stake, of what's the issue. Without these, all that remains is a hollow void that transactional diplomacy has created, a space where force, rather than reason, will always fill the gap. Force, not reason. And we come back to the analogy of King Arthur and the Round Table. It was reason that dictated the creation of the Round Table. It was force that existed beforehand, and it was force that broke the table. Mordred. Force and evil. Manipulation. We have successfully engineered our own round table for over 70 years, 80 years, in the United Nations, in the various bodies that talk, jaw. And Trump, in less than a month, one little month, reminds you of the opening scene of Hamlet. In less than a month, Trump has destroyed all that the post-war situation has put in place to ensure there isn't another major world conflict. Unlike any stupid individual who has done something wrong and knows it, he's tried to shift the blame onto Zelensky. You're playing with World War III. No. The person who's playing with World War III is the man sitting behind the Resolute desk, puffing up his wig and trying to look as if he's in charge. He has given away all the cards in his pack. I don't know what more I can say, except today is so utterly depressing. Utterly depressing. Can he rein back? Can he restore? He has to restore the intelligence sharing to Ukraine, because people are dying, and they're dying because of Trump. And these people are Ukrainians that the USA gave its word it would protect. If the word means nothing, the USA means nothing. That's the conclusion.